Steve, I want to talk about a pretty special game because it's one of the few games I think in the entire industry that really portrays the pre-smartphone era in the mid 2000s. Because we really did jump a whole generation in technology between the late 90s and around 2008, where and GTA 4 takes place in 2008, but of course the development predated that by around 4 years. This started around the time that San Andreas shipped in 2004. And so much happened between 2004 and 2008. The iPhone released, Facebook got big. A whole shift in how we communicate and just live our lives completely blew over in that time. And so GTA 4 is this weird little time capsule of pre smartphone communication era with internet cafes, and digit phones and all this stuff. And so, more than maybe any other GTA game, it's just a really interesting time capsule of that time period.
It really is. Long development cycles are obviously nothing new to games and gaming, right? Like every development house has had a game that's been in development for more than 5 years or so.
Mm.
But it's an interesting 5 years that GTA 4 lands in because like you said, the landscape of consumer technology changed vastly in that time, like probably more so than any other period in history where, the development is a snapshot in time, right? Like they started designing the things that live in this world without knowing that we were going to all be on touchscreen devices by the time this game came out. Like, for some context, the original iPhone was in '07. By the time this game came out, I think we were either already or we were on the verge of the release of the iPhone 3G, so the second iPhone with the App Store.
Mhm.
Um, but when you step into this world, you've got like people rocking. I think you correctly ID'd the phone. It was like a Sony Ericsson that you yourself used to have.
Yeah, yeah, we can get the phone up right now. It's a Sony Ericsson, and I remember it really well because there's some orange tinges on like the default background, and it parodies that phone from the era. And the iPhone obviously it came out 2007, and then they were continuing into 2008. But the development of this would have preceded that by far, and so they made it all around just calling and texting friends, and if you want to, go online, you've got to go to a dedicated place to do that. And so while this game is it's far more connected than any previous GTA game. There's a big social aspect. You're getting calls all the time to hang out. It's still super different to what would happen later. And like this sounds nuts, but GTA 5 came out 5 years after 4. But before that, we were getting a GTA pretty much every year. But in that 5 year span, 5 is a drastically different cultured game. There's one mission in 5 where you break into a social media empire, and it's just this big, parody of how they are, like the culture there of everyone just like chilling out, having like pool tables and dartboards and things. That's the kind of stuff that wouldn't have existed in 2008. Facebook became big in 2007, I want to say, but before that, MySpace was the big social media, and there's a MySpace parody in GTA 4. I think it's called My Room or something like that. It's very minor, but it just kind of shows you this sort of Web 1.0 design. And there's a whole internet cafe in GTA 4 with a whole bunch of parody websites, and they've all got that old web design where nothing's clean. It's all very cluttered with like different fonts for everything. It just captures it all like really, really well.
Yeah, it's so funny because we've come to know that as Web 1.0
Mm.
design. Back when I mean, we live in this terrifying era where tech CEOs are trying to push a whole bunch of awful things under the banner of Web 3. But
Yeah.
Web 2.0 was widely, comparatively well regarded. Like people were excited about websites being more responsive, and the whole push behind Web 2.0 was to sort of quote unquote appify websites to make them feel like modern smartphone apps. And by the time GTA 4 launched, we were largely living in that era. Like the web design in GTA 4 feels like a relic of the past, despite being only maybe like a couple years in the rear view. Like you said, MySpace was a huge one, right? Like it was the social network of the day when development started. And so much can change overnight. Like Facebook came in and just kind of became the de facto standard, before even Twitter, right? And it's very interesting to see because I remember, being a teen and a young adult in that period, people really being obsessed over, like, who were in your top 8 on MySpace, like,
Yeah.
people spending hours customizing their profiles, but everything on the internet in that era was, like, rough around the edges, and you certainly weren't gonna be expected to access almost any of that on a phone,
No.
which is a huge difference to what we were all doing by the time we were playing the game.
It with GTA 5, they have, the Twitter parody, which is, Life Invader. And it's not very interactive. I think 4 had a lot more interactive stuff when it came to just the world and how you talk to people. But throughout the story, a lot of the characters in that game would give you like their social updates. And that's very old Twitter themed because that game came out in 2012, 2013. It was yeah, 2013.
Yep.
And so you get that old Twitter interface there. So even that is slightly aged, but I don't think the world has adapted all that much since GTA 5. We had stuff like the micro content, like stuff like Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. That stuff is very different to GTA 5. But the general, just like always being connected feel that's something that hasn't really changed in that decade. But whereas there's just this like small span of a few years of GTA 4 is very like self-imposed, and I can't think of a single other game that really has it going on.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I was having that thought as we were talking earlier that GTA 5 kind of still works in a way that GTA 4 doesn't, like in terms of its reflection of society. Like GTA 5 is very much focused around, again, a phone that was pretty old by the time the game came out. I think GTA 5 came out in 2013.
Mm.
It showed the iPhone 4 was like the main parody of a phone in that game, and I believe the iPhone 4 came out in 2011, so a couple years before the game came out. But it's not as stark of a difference because one, a lot of people hold on to their smartphones for years at a time now because they're essentially usable for quite a long time, and two, you know, iterative iPhone or smartphone releases don't really change how we interact with things, right? So
Mm.
people even now in 2026, some 13 years after that game came out, you still generally just hop on your phone and you can browse social media and you can go to websites and you can buy stuff online. No new technology has come along that has drastically changed how we interact with the internet and with the world around us the same way that smartphones did.
No. The big difference with GTA 6 probably is gonna be that everyone's recording everything. That's something that was, it was somewhat true in GTA 5's era, but in the time where people, they do live streams of just their life and all that. That's probably gonna be the big culture difference. Um, but it's really quite a small one though, like considering everything else that goes on between the whole decades of when these games came out. But speaking of decades, though, like GTA 4 was 2008, GTA 5 was 2013, and now GTA 6, 2026. We used to have GTA all the time, like literally in between GTA. Well, just the originals even. GTA 1 was 97, and then in 99 we had GTA London and GTA 2 in the same year. Then GTA 3 was only 2 years after that in 2001. Vice City 1 year later, San Andreas 2 years later. In that same year, GTA Advance. In the next year, Liberty City Stories. In the next year, Vice City Stories. 2 years later, GTA 4. The DLCs were the year after. And then, just between the DLCs and 5 is 4 years. But it was literally all the time that Grand Theft Auto came out. But now we're in this really funny era where the last decade plus has just been GTA 5.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because I don't think anybody could have predicted that we would be, on like a 13-year wait for the
Yeah.
next Grand Theft Auto, given the monumental popularity of the franchise. In fact, I was talking about this with someone the other day, and I think it is hard to really pin down how GTA 6 will perform,
Mm.
financially speaking, because there are loads of people who do not play literally anything else, but will go out and pick up a console to play GTA 6 and then
Yeah.
not touch that console ever again. And I'm deeply curious what a 13-year wait means for those folks, right? Because I mean, back then, I remember between GTA 2 and 3 thinking that that wait felt astronomically long, and it was only 2 years.
Yeah.
Um because you did get used to a much more steady release cadence for these games. But GTA 5 has proven to be ridiculously popular. Like
Mm.
it's been a 13-year gap, but it is worth mentioning for many of those years, GTA 5 has still been in the top selling games that year.
Yeah. Is it the best-selling game of all time, or is there something topping it?
It is not. It is Tetris, which is such a weird thing to say. This came up in a, episode of The Week in Nintendo recently, but Tetris is the best-selling game of all time, though that does count, like, every version of Tetris.
Uh
Um, but GTA 5 is in that conversation. I don't have actual numbers at hand, but I think it's at least in the top 5, if not the top
Yeah, I've
3
just googled
best-selling
it.
games.
They have it at number 2, although they list Tetris and Minecraft in the same place for some reason at number 1. But GTA 5, is 230,000,000, with Red Dead 2 at 85,000,000 at number 3.
That
So
is bonkers.
yeah. But, going
I
back to the time period as well, obviously GTA 6 is gonna have way more interactive NPCs, mostly just because they have much more tech to work with. And in GTA 4, they're mostly just walking around, but also it also kind of does show the time period, though. People in GTA 4 won't be walking around looking at their phones the entire time, because they're not just constantly scrolling or refreshing or always talking to somebody, because that's just kind of how the time period was. In GTA 6, you're going to see pedestrians all over the place on their phones, probably crossing roads without looking, that kind of stuff. And that is, that's what in a 2 decade span. That's just a really drastic difference in how we just go about our lives.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because, yeah, GTA 4's pedestrians are just kind of milling about in the same way they did in 3, right?
Yeah,
They're doing whatever, oftentimes saying really ridiculous things, which is kind of just a hallmark of GTA.
yeah.
Um, like I was driving around Liberty City last night in 4 and just kind of chuckling at some of the weird things you'll hear in your car. Um, but I do think that it's kind of emblematic of where society has gone, right? When's the last time you went out and didn't see someone on their phone, just kind of idly hanging out in public on their phone? As the parent of 2 kids, well, one of whom is a freshly minted teenager, like I can't escape, people who actively live on those devices. Um, I think that, in 5, you see it a bit more. I think in
Yeah, a
6, it'll
little bit
be
more.
even more pronounced. Like, you'll see just people everywhere on them or one thing that I've noticed too is the rise of people wearing, headphones in public.
Mhm.
It's always been a thing, but I think it's much more prevalent now. Like, last time I went to London, um, I would say, like, every 5th or 6th person I saw was just wearing, like, not just AirPods, but, like, giant headphones,
Yeah.
out in public, and I was raised to believe that not necessarily that it was rude, but it was quite unsafe.
You can't hear any cars when crossing the road, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always remember it being a matter of common sense that you just didn't wear headphones in public,
Yeah.
because you were likely to, get hurt, but, I think that we're gonna see in GTA that a lot of people are just, like, hanging out on their phones. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some level of social commentary about that in GTA 6. I think that, I've seen people who will just go to their friend's house to scroll on their phone in a different place. And
Mm.
so, maybe I sound like a bit of an old man saying that, but I feel like NPC behavior is more interesting and varied in GTA 4 because, there's kind of more things that people are doing. People used to go outside to interact more, and these days, having everything at your fingertips maybe has made people a little less interesting.
Mm. Yeah, it'll be so interesting to see what GTA 6 picks up from in all its years of development. Like, is it going to blow past NFTs? Is it gonna have AI stuff, like a big AI corporation you've got to break into? A lot of weird things have happened in the last 4 years even. But how much of it's still relevant today? Like, NFTs aren't a thing anymore, really. Is that just gonna be a relic that they're not gonna touch on, or had it already began when they were making the game? So GTA 4 is full of stuff that was pre-2008, even though the game takes place in 2008. So it'd be weird to see what they actually managed to pack in there.
Yeah, I think GTA 4 is probably in some ways the most interesting game in the series because of the fact that it kind of happened while the world development happened while the world moved very rapidly around it.
Yeah.
Everything about society changed kind of comparatively overnight, and GTA was still being worked on. GTA 6 has some potential for that, like you mentioned, because obviously, we had the NFT boom, and I think that, the writers at Rockstar are definitely it's an easy joke to make, right? To
Yeah.
have some kind of NFT grifter in the game that tries to rope you into something stupid. I think that it would be easy to have some kind of dated references that people might still enjoy. I know that despite the fact that technologically GTA 4 kind of portrayed something that was a few years old by the time it released, I still really enjoyed the world they built. And I
Mm.
don't think I'll struggle with GTA 6 either. It's my most anticipated game of this year. I think it is for a lot of people. Um, but I think that we're going to see some stuff like that, AI, NFT stuff. In fact, I've been playing 007 First Light, and there's a lot of AI stuff in that. Like,
Mm.
I'm not sure where it goes, but they mention AI frequently in that game, and I'm not sure if they're like painting it to be evil or if they're doing whatever. But
That's our savior. I'm
yeah,
gonna
I'm not
replace,
sure
Bond with
where.
AI.
Yeah, either Bond is gonna be best friends with AI or we're going to blow up an AI company, and I'm not sure which it is. Uh, I also wouldn't be surprised, given Take-Two's pretty hard stance against AI, um, if they would, if they would have you doing something similar in GTA 6. You may end up, you know, like you said, that social media office, you go in there to off the CEO in
Yeah.
GTA 5. I could see them having a Sam Altman-like character in GTA 6 that you do something very similar to.
Oh, yeah, totally. With GTA 4, just in terms of the game's quality, like just not even taking into account the time period, just the game itself, it is one of my favorites. It might even be my overall favorite. And 5 is a great game. Obviously, it's has its legacy. It's one of the best selling games ever. Um, 4, I feel like it's such a grounded game. Nico is one of the best characters in the franchise, and there's so many other really great ones as well. But it's a game that's aged really well because of its emphasis on the physics, which 5 has, but it's the same physics engine, but it ditched a lot of the stuff in there. You can really mess around with the pedestrians. You can do some really cool stuff with car flips and all that. It's a very unique game in that way. Like you can, if you want to push a pedestrian into a river with your car, just driving slowly, nudging them in, you can do that. Whereas any other GTA game, you try doing that, they're just going to fall over no matter what speed you hit them at. It was weirdly grounded and realistic. It made the driving a bit heavy, but it's something you can adapt to. And in terms of just like the missions, the story, the world, I think it is up there with my favorite one in the franchise.
I think it's a really interesting story because you have Nico who is new to America and is
Mm,
kind of learning that things aren't as beautiful as they were made to sound.
yeah,
And as you peel back the layers of who Nico is, you find out that he also was, he wasn't coming to America just for the opportunity. He had
yeah.
stirred up some stuff in the old world and needed to get away from it, and it followed, as it has a way of doing in GTA games. So I think his story is one of the easiest to follow. I think GTA 5 did some great stuff with,
Mhm,
Michael and Trevor and Franklin, but I think that what I really like is how focused this is on a single person and kind of their how crazy their story gets. Previously, like with GTA 3, with other games in the series, you have an established protagonist who already is part of the community that he's in. GTA 4 is really, I'm think maybe even the only one that kind of drops you as somebody who's brand new, not just to maybe Liberty City, but to America in
mhm.
general, and has to navigate the kind of stigma that comes with being a foreigner in a different place with the types of people you engage with. I really love what they did with Nico. I think he's got a great story to tell, and in a weird way, it kind contextualizes all the out of date tech, right? Because
Mm,
he comes in without a penny to his name. So is he gonna have an iPhone or is he gonna have access to like a nice laptop? No.
yeah.
He's going to be rocking whatever his whatever Roman gave him, and Roman
It's
himself was
funny
pretty broke.
because like, you as the game progresses, you get, like, better and better stuff, and even at the most premium, like, phone that you get, it's still, it's still, like, dated by today's
Yeah.
standards. But it's funny seeing that climb. Back in the day, I remember there's a lot of disappointment with 4, because San Andreas just did everything. It did stuff that 5 doesn't do. I just replayed, and finished San Andreas, the Switch version, and there is so much packed in there. Like, you get so many like, you get, like, a jet, you get a jetpack, you get flamethrowers, you get all this stuff that 4 doesn't have. And so from, like, purely a sandbox perspective, I can see why people were upset a bit. Um, and San Andreas is still so special. There's so many weird little things that no other game does, like the stamina system and being able to, like, gain muscle and all that. There's a lot of, like, almost RPG stuff in San Andreas. But 4, I happily kinda sacrifice that stuff. The map is a bit smaller and more focused. San Andreas has, like, a big desert with nothing really going on in a lot of areas, whereas 4, like, there's something packed in every street. And so, like, I kinda gladly traded the jet for just a regular helicopter because it made more sense for the scale of the world.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, what they did because there is kind of a scaling back in 4
Mhm.
versus San Andreas. San Andreas was a massive game,
Yeah.
especially for the PS2. Um, and I think that, like you mentioned with the improved physics engine, it would have been hard to also tune things like jetpacks and stuff like that, on top of all of this. I think that GTA 4 is a bit more grounded of an adventure.
Mm.
It takes place, like you said, in a smaller slice of Liberty City than San Andreas is a bigger map, but it's also not as dense. It's not as alive.
Yeah.
Liberty City feels very close, especially for the era to what being in parts of New York feels like. Lots of people, lots of architecture, lots of layers on layers. Like there's verticality to areas of the map that just isn't something that I would have expected to see in any of the PS2 GTAs. And I really think that for a first game on a new generation, they did exceptionally well. And in some ways it outperforms GTA 5.
Mhm. It was a really, really big deal. 5, the reason it's kept going all these years is GTA Online. And 4 has online as well, but it wasn't like a live service online. It was like, here is deathmatch, here's some races. You can free roam together if you like, but it didn't have that. It wasn't a separate game. It was just like, here's another mode to mess around with more of GTA 4 stuff. So even that between those few years of GTA 4 and 5 in the video game landscape, online changed a lot as well. And I think you can still play GTA 4 online in the 360 version. I'm pretty sure they shut down on PC though.
I think you can. I went into the menu last night and I hit it briefly, and then I just was like, I have no one to play this with. I'm
Mhm,
not going to do it. But I did get curious about whether I could find other players online. I used to play GTA 4 online a bit with my friends, but
mhm.
we would literally just drive around and shoot at each other.
Yeah, I remember
um,
a friend and I used to get in a helicopter and drive to the Statue of Liberty and jump into its head where there's like a beating heart inside.
yep. That is also like a weird thing. I know that GTA 5 has its own amount of kind of secrets and interesting stuff in the world. People are still unraveling things about GTA 5 even now. But I do miss that there is no like really big, super weird Easter egg in GTA 5 like there is the beating heart in the Statue of Liberty in 4. Like it
Mm,
feels like we should have something like that.
yeah. I mean, this started as an era conversation, I think just turned into a GTA 4 discussion and GTA at large. But it is a really interesting time to see what GTA 6 is doing. In the debut trailer, you see a lot of that sort of short form content. Like there's a vertical video of somebody, of filming themselves with an alligator. Like that's the kind of stuff you wouldn't have seen in 2008. But regardless, these are all really interesting time capsules. And you've got games like Vice City, which, they're not portraying the era, they're going back 20 years. And now it's very scary to think if you go back 20 years from now, you're in GTA 4's era. So
Yeah.
Vice City was parodying a time 2 decades ago. It felt old, it felt like nostalgic, it felt, it was just capturing a long gone era. And now we're there again with something that still feels very modern.
I hate that you told me that. I hate that that you reminded me that GTA 4 was 20 years ago. It's crazy to think
Yeah.
that 5 was 50 or almost 15 years ago. Um, But it does feel like though technology has marched forward in some cases at a very rapid pace, culture has felt a bit more homogenous, and maybe that's because we've been around for all of it. I certainly wasn't in nightclubs in the 80s, and stuff like that, but it for something about Vice City feels much more foreign to me than any of these others. But that time gap is truly interesting, and like you said, it's very interesting to see that there's kind of, just a technological disconnect with 4. 4 is kind of a unique game in the series, and I think it always will be because it doesn't quite capture the time it takes place in the same way other GTAs do,
Mm.
just because of that massive leap in culture and technology that happened around 2007. It was an unfortunate, coincidence for Rockstar that they released this right when Apple dropped the iPhone and everything around us started to change very quickly. But I think I like it for that. I like it because it feels like something that almost exists out of time.
That's a great note to end on, Steve. So thank you all very, very much for watching. If you want to join that little box in the corner, you can. That's our live audience. Just join our Patreon, and for just $5 a month, you can join them in that little box down there and watch anything as we are recording it way before it goes live. Also, a bunch of other goodies as well. So consider supporting us. But until then, catch you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.